Okay, so hello everybody and welcome to the Hunger for the Hustle podcast. This is episode 135 and we are in New York City, and opposite me right now is a girl that up until 3 days ago we went to high school together, from Arthur Terry to NYC. Here we are, Jessika with a K. It is an absolute pleasure to have you sat in front of me and a pleasure to have you on the show. Welcome along.
Thank you. I'm so happy. We're doing this, Jake.
I'm so happy we're doing this. Like I said to you just before off camera, the second I saw you and knew what you're up to, I was like, I'm going to get Jess on my podcast. Aww. It's just a matter of time. And we kind of were back and forth. I was in Nashville. We missed each other a few times passing ships there, but none of that matters because now Here we are. And in this fantastic studio with these fantastic gentlemen who have just set it up for us. Appreciate those guys.
Me too.
And everything always works out exactly as it's meant to. We're great students and proponents of that. We'll get into that a little bit later. But let's start at the start, because it's always the best place to start and build the story that I want to create with this hour that we have here. When did you start singing and how did that look? What age were you?
I was 16 years old, and you remember at school, I started singing at about 14, and then at 16 I had my first gig in Pizza Express in Sutton Coldfield. You know the place, right?
I know it well.
You
Still there?
Well. Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
I know the person who started Pizza Express. Actually,
really?
The whole thing, yeah.
I love Pizza Express.
Not alive anymore, but
pizza.
Cool.
I love that place. So I went in, I was like 16 years old, and I remember I walked in with like a tiny little tape player, and I asked the manager if I could do an audition in there, and I loved jazz, just loved jazz growing up, and I said, I want to sing 2 jazz numbers for you, and I sang one lunchtime in front of the whole of the restaurant, and she gave me the gig, and I think I got like 60 quid a night, twice a week.
Wow.
Yeah. And
but you were 16 at this point?
16 years old,
not too bad for 16.
Yeah. It's like 60 quid a night. Would go in and I'd get a free pizza.
Oh.
Yeah,
that's worth 60 quid by itself.
And a free dessert as well. So I'd go in and I would do these jazz nights there. And that's how it all started. That was my first gig, and that's where it all began.
But was another spot though that I had, funnily enough, found out the other day, my first ever job as a pot wash in the kitchen. But you used to play there, which was
Pier 39
as well. And it was a similar thing there. It was a jazz kind of thing.
Yeah, I did the same set. Yeah, it's the same set, and I'd just go in and I'd just do like an hour or 2 of jazz. Yeah, just in
covers.
The corner. Yeah, covers. Yeah. And it was great. So I would just go from Pizza Express to Pier 39. I did the Bel Air nightclub at the Belfry.
Oh yeah. They knocked that down. That's gone.
The Bel Air?
Yeah, they knocked it down.
Oh really? I didn't actually know that.
Yeah,
okay.
Recent thing this summer. So, and has it always been a vocals thing for you, or has it always been? And we got to be careful of that, because we, as a podcast about you and what you do, we could easily go into the history of Sutton Coldfield. That's a different podcast. But was it always vocals for you, or do you play music as well?
For me, it's always been about the vocals, but about the writing. Yeah, it's always everything kind of comes back to the writing, really, into the songs. I would say I started writing when I was doing those gigs when I was 16, but it's funny now when I look back to the songs I was writing then and to the songs I'm writing now, that themes change and subjects change. I remember I was 16 and I wrote my first ever song I wrote was a song called Rainbows, Summer, Love Song, all these happy songs, and now a few years later it's songs like Sober, Monsters, Bedtime Story. Yeah. Things take as we mature we get different themes. So it was always about the songwriting, but it's funny just looking back now, I'm not really writing songs about summer or sunshine or rainbows anymore.
Well, I think the thing is, and that's great in a way, because you've kept it authentic. You're writing about you, you're writing about your life. And if you were still writing the same songs that you were writing when you were 16, you probably wouldn't be where you are now, So I think there's something to be said for that. At what point did you realise, you're 16, 17 there, what point did you think, I actually want to make this a career, I want to make this something I do for the rest of my life?
I think it's when I went to college. So me and my family moved down to Cornwall from Sutton Coldfield, and went down to college, and I started college, and I dropped out, and then I dropped out of college again twice. And I was like, and the head teacher actually of the college that I went to down in Cornwall called me in, and he was like, you know, Jessica, I feel like you have to make a decision, because I was doing all these gigs. I started doing all these gigs at Pizza Expresses, and we were traveling around, and me and my dad was working with me. Like, he would drive me around. It went from, we'd drive around the whole of England just doing these gigs, and I couldn't do college and these gigs that we were doing. We were having so much fun, me and my dad, doing this. It was amazing. So I think I had to make a decision. I was about 17, and I went, I choose music. That's what I'm going to do. And then I moved to London to pursue it. And
what age were you when you moved to London? 17?
I was 17. I was 18. Yep. 18, 19, I think. I got this like tiny little place in Soho on Denmark Street, the most famous music street in London. And I will never forget it. I moved in, and it was this, I moved into this, it was just the apartment was like, there was like mice running around everywhere. There was rats in there. It was terrible. But honestly, the music I wrote in that apartment, I was just absolutely loving it. And I think at that age as well, you're pretty fearless.
Yeah.
It was terrible. It was a terrible situation. I remember thinking, oh my goodness, like what is this? And it was, but it was great. I wrote music, and from there, I went and got my first gig at Ronnie Scott's in London. Just walked in, I was like, I want a gig. They were like, okay, well, we need to book you. And I did the same thing. I sang a couple of songs for them, and did an evening there. And
was that, were you still doing mostly jazz at this point?
No, I started writing more then. So I was coming away from the jazz, yeah.
So you're doing your own things?
Yeah.
What was the influence of the jazz? Was it a personal thing? Was there someone in your family that just played a lot of jazz, or did it come from somewhere else?
I'd say my dad, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice. My dad has great taste in music, and we always listened to a lot of jazz growing up.
It's great music.
Yeah.
It's very expressive, it's very emotive.
It is.
And it's it can convey a lot. It's very get up and go, isn't it, as well? Someone told me about some very good jazz clubs in New York City. Bluebirds, I think it was. I feel like every city in the world there's a jazz club called Bluebirds.
Yeah.
It's just kind of a thing. All right, so you're 17, you get your first gig, was it Ronnie's?
I was 18 here now. I went to London, did a gig at Ronnie Scott's, which was amazing, and Jazz After Dark in Soho too, and just started gigging. I gigged every single night, and then I just did not stop.
And was this... Were you living good, living healthy at this point? Because I know there was a kind of some bad habits that started playing out here. You know, let's make no bones about it. You started drinking pretty heavily, right?
Yeah, well, you know, I was on a scene where, it's funny, in London, I was doing these gigs every night, and I started on the Mayfair scene in London as well. I was singing in all the casinos, every single cigar room in London. And I loved it. I mean, it was very glamorous. Then things started getting like a glamorous lifestyle. I put my little dresses on. I'd be singing in these cigar rooms, you know, for all these gentlemen every night. And I loved it. I had a lot of fun. But I burnt myself out. I mean, I used to drink a lot of champagne. I sound like a real diva, but champagne was my favorite drink. I just always had this.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like kind of when I say it, I'm like, oh yeah, I only drink champagne. It makes me sound like, all right.
Well, no, I think if you're going to drink, you might as well drink nice stuff.
Yeah.
You know, if you have the option, if the ability is there.
Yeah. But
there's then also, so you were basically a product of the environment, would you say? I started drinking before my shows. I started drinking a lot of wine at my shows. Then I would drink after my shows. I wouldn't describe it as I had like a problem. However, I would say I think I had potential. Yeah. That's how I describe it. I didn't have a problem, but I definitely had potential to have a problem. And I was very aware of it. Drinking for me as well, unfortunately, it became... I'm nearly 3 years sober now in November. And drinking for me became a crutch. I have actually, and still have it now, although people might not believe it, I suffered from social anxiety. So I used to use drink as my best friend for all of these situations. Yeah, and it's one thing alcohol is very good for is lowering anxiety, and
it is,
as they call it, the social lubricant, the social oil.
Yes,
it's very good for those things. And would you say it was something that you used to calm your nerves before performing?
Always.
Yeah. How did that affect your performances? If you were using, and the reason I asked that is because if you were using the alcohol as the social lubricant, as the anxiety easer, as the the conversation starter, as it were, and to reduce those nerves before the performance, how did you notice like a big difference in that before the shows and then the performances after you stopped drinking?
I do. I remember the first show I did without the drink, and I was petrified. I'm going to be honest. I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this without drink. I got told after the show that it was the best show I ever did.
Brilliant. Doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah. And I was really happy to hear that. And I walked off and I was like, and I remember feeling it myself too. I felt, yes, I can do this. I can do this without the drink. This is going to be my life moving forward. I'm about to embark on a lot more pressure. I'm going to have to learn how to rewire my brain to know that I can do life and performing and social situations, because it got to a point where even I became very shy. And I actually, well, you remember at school we were saying this, is that I was actually very shy at school.
You were, yeah. So was I. No, I was not.
But I was so shy at school, and it's funny, like the drink helped me as I went into my adult life. I think drinking helped me with that.
Right.
Because when I do look back now, and actually when I look back at my school life, I was so quiet and so shy and such a nervous kid. I was such a nervous child. And then I went into the music business, and I went into being an adult, and I moved to London. I moved, and I kind of...
It helped to bring you out your shell.
It really does.
And maybe that's where it just served its purpose, and it served that purpose. It got you out into the world. It got you in the arena. It got you on the circuit. And then your body was like, hey, it's done its job here. Gives you the pancreatitis, gives you the pain. It's like alarm bell.
Yes.
And you took that signal, and you did what your body wanted you to do, which was stop.
Yeah.
I think commend you for that, because a lot of people wouldn't have, and then that's where the overuse dependency addiction kind of cycle can start to happen. So
absolutely.
So then you've stopped your drinking. You've just had what's been told to you by people around you, the best gig ever.
Yeah.
You're on top of the world at this point. You're still in London. At what point does America come onto the radar? And is that something that gets delivered to you by someone else, or is it just a feeling that comes from within you?
So I remember the night I made the decision. I was singing in a casino in Mayfair, London, and I was burning myself out. I remember my mum was at this gig. She'd come up from Cornwall, and she'd watched the whole show, and I was just burning myself out with just the lifestyle that I was living. And I got home that night, and I said to my mum, I'm going to take the deposit on my apartment, on my this little room in London. I'm going to take the deposit, and I'm going to go to America for a couple of months. And I'm just going to take some time out just to breathe and to reset. And in my head, I wanted to get a deal. I wanted to get a deal out here. I said, that is what I'm going to do.
Did you tell everyone else that, or you just kept that to yourself?
I did say it. I told my mom that I didn't, and I told my dad and my family, but I just went. Within 1 week, I just took my deposit and I just left, and I went. And I landed here in New York City. I'd never been to America. I landed here, I had my guitar, and I had a suitcase full of songs, because I had songs at that point that I'd been writing. And that's where that part began, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Did you? And so then, what was the process of getting the gigs? Because for me, I can align with this. Going to a new country, starting again. We talked about this briefly the other day. You really do start again. In a certain way. You may have some friends and connections there, but in the professional capacity.
Yeah.
And I found that when I've moved to different parts of the world. So, was that something you had to do? Kind of start again? Or you had contacts that got you into things?
I didn't. I had no contacts in the industry at all.
At all?
I bought this book called Music Week Directory that I really recommend to artists. It's called Music Week Directory, and it has executives contact details, so you can send out emails. I must have sent out in my musical career time. I'm not kidding. I would say I've sent out. No jokes. I've probably sent off 5,000, 10,000 emails just trying to get through doors, knocking on doors. Yeah. I did crazy stuff to try and get through doors, it was ridiculous. And I just kept doing that. And the thing that always kept me going, you only need one door to open to get that deal. One door. I had so many doors slammed in my face, like, no. But one door. And that happened. And that door is my whole team now, and my label now, my publishers. And I'm very, very fortunate. I have a wonderful team, wonderful label, wonderful publishers. And we are, we're like a family.
Yeah.
We're on this journey. They've been on me, with me for this long time.
I know, and we'll get into the journey of how that came about with the label, with the sleeping in the office.
Yes.
With how I know the drink, hadn't completely stopped then, it was still around.
Yeah.
But before you get into that, you said something there that's when one door opens and that's all you need, and then it becomes, perpetual, and one thing leads to another. How much of that do you think depends on your own belief in yourself and your vision and your goal of where you want to get to, and how much do you think is just kind of luck and serendipity?
I think most of it comes down to the belief you have in yourself. It's funny I say this, is that somehow along the way there was a lot of doors, a lot of no's, a lot of rejection, which I don't think we actually talk about a lot, like how much rejection can really affect you. And as you get mature and older, like it's like, wow, that rejection starts to really, it can really affect you mentally. But somehow along this journey, I managed to always keep a belief, and I can't quite explain it. It's like a gut thing in my stomach that always felt very strong about that. I'm not confident in other aspects of my life, and I happily say it. I'm going to talk about it in my songs. I talk about all sorts of aspects. I would say my confidence is low in other parts of my life, my personal life, and just the way I can be. That's a whole other conversation. But the one thing that I am proud of saying is that I always had this belief that I could do this. I also had this belief that I would absolutely never stop until I've done it. I will say it now, I will not stop until I've done this. I will not stop. I will not stop until I am. There is just no stopping.
What's this?
Yeah, that's a good question. I thought you were going to say that. Until I feel like my music is out there, and that I feel like I've made all this music, I've made this album, and it's like it's funny. You look at like, well, what does that mean? Like, when will I be like content? And I'm like, actually ask myself the same question, because I think we spoke about this. We're always changing. Yeah. Like the goalposts keep changing. So it's like, well, when will I be content? Like, I'm now putting I know I'm still like, no. I'm still going. But I feel I really don't know the answer actually to that question, because I don't know if I think we have this wiring in our brains that maybe are we ever, do you know what I mean? It's something I've got to work on, I think.
It's a really interesting, like, dual thing. It's like two sides of the same coin. You're like, I've arrived, I've got there, and that's great, and take some time to savour that. But then just, of course, like, just keep going at the same time as well. And I think that it's good to savour those moments, but it's also good to enjoy the journey. But for me, like, everything happens twice. Going to go in a bit philosophical here, but it does happen twice. Everything around us, this microphone I'm talking into, this table, everything that you look at, this chair I'm sat on, has happened twice. It happened once in someone's mind with the thought first, and then it manifested through thoughts and actions into the real world.
So true.
So it's like, for me, if you're a goal-setting individual like I know you are, when you've achieved that goal, I get this thing sometimes where it's like, I'm so glad I got here, but I knew it was always going to happen because I'd seen it that many times. It was just like, I've watched the movie play out in front of me.
Yes, yeah.
And then sometimes I found in that you can lack gratefulness that it's happened.
Yes.
Do you know?
Oh my goodness.
Because you don't take any time to actually savour it and think, especially when you're living in a city like New York and everything happens at 1,000,000 miles an hour, or any other big city around the world. So I think you got to find yourself within that.
Yeah. Somewhere
between really grateful for everything that's happening around me.
Yes.
But keep moving on to the next goal. And I think that's how things like gratitude lists and taking time to write down your thoughts, or just have some quiet time for yourself each day, is really, really beneficial.
I think it is important. I've started doing these gratitude lists now, which I do. I have them all over my walls, actually, my apartment. And they do help, because I think if you can take that approach, with it, then it's like when you look back to 10 years ago or something, or you look back to 5 years ago and you look, well, if I imagine now that I'd be doing this, okay, wow, I'd be like so content. But somehow, like, I think just goalposts always keep changing. So you're always going to be like, no, I need the next best thing. I need it. And I think with myself is I always want to be, I'm my own worst critic for this. Not my own worst critic, my own worst enemy, is that, like, I feel like I'm quite perfectionist. I have to be the best at everything. And that's sometimes can be torture. I think a lot of creatives are, we all are, like, I have to be doing my best. I have to know that I'm in the best absolute possible place for this to happen. And it's good. It's very, very good, because that's why this will happen. That's absolutely why I need to keep that mindset. But I also have to be, I think, a bit gentler to my mind in a way, and be like, okay, let's just think about actually what's going on. This is
Well, the biggest enemy you'll ever meet in your life is yourself.
Absolutely.
So I think it always pays you dividends to be your own best friend. And that advice we often give to others, heed it for ourselves. Because we often don't. You can get, I'm the best listener. But how often are you listening to yourself? How often you listen to your own body, your own mind? I think something you said there, like you said, when we're younger, and I get it, we talked about this as well when we were at dinner the other day, that was when I look at things now and I'm like, there was a time like a year ago or 6 months ago or 3 years ago, 10 years ago, like I dreamed of the things, these things that I'd have now and the goals that I got to now. And so one day you get it and the penny just drops, you're like, I'm here. I've arrived. But I think then as you grow, the vision grows.
Yes.
And it all expands.
Yeah.
But I think that can go both ways.
Absolutely.
That whole chunk of the last 10 minutes of what we talked about was very positive and being driven and going towards your things. But it's a cycle up or it's a cycle down.
Oh yeah, it can go either way.
It's like, that's what it is. Thoughts become things. It's, negative thoughts predicate negative actions, which predicate more negative thoughts, and the cycle continues.
Yeah,
but the positive's just the same upwards, So
yeah.
Now let's go into New York, because I know, and you're not the first person I know who's an artist who's lived in the same space that they've been creating in.
Yes.
Tell us please about that.
So this is how I got my record deal too, and how I also wrote my album. So it all kind of links into the next chapter of the journey. I went to Nashville, Music City, that I love.
Great city.
Yes, I'm a huge fan of Nashville. It always feels very much like home to me there. We're home. So I went to Nashville. I turned up and didn't really know a lot of people there. Didn't know many people there, and the hotels were crazy expensive. It was like I think it was in the summertime. And I turned up and I went and had a meeting with my publishers who were in Nashville, and I was just in a meeting talking about songs and stuff, and then the guy gave me a key card for the building, and this is like the offices are like this beautiful brand new building that they just made, and he gave me a key card and said, you can write here from 9 till 5. So I was like, wow, that's great. Okay, so I'll go in, I can write songs. Well, I don't write in the day much, I always write at night. So I didn't have anywhere to go, and I remember that night I was like, wow, hotel's like, I haven't got anywhere to go. All I had was that one case still, my guitar. And I was like, here we go again. I'm hovering around. I was like, this key card, I wonder if this works 24 hours. So I go try it out. It does. I find out, and I confirmed it. It's a 24-hour access key card. This building is beautiful. I mean, I was like, I could live here. So I know that all the executives and everyone leaves at about 5 o'clock. That building is empty. So I made a decision that I was going to quietly move in to their offices. Quietly. Nobody knew. And I did. So I moved in. I remember the first night there, and it was a huge building. I was frightened. I was scared, but I was drinking at the time. I had my best friend drink, so I'd find all the alcohol in the executives' offices. I'd go in, I'd find the wine, and I'd crack open a bottle of wine, and I'd get through it.
They didn't know?
They didn't know.
How long?
I lasted about, I think it was about 10 days there, I think it was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. maybe a bit less than that, about 10 days. So.
And then you told me they found out, right?
That I got caught on camera, yeah.
Caught candy camera. I'm not bloody surprised, to be honest.
Yeah, they said there was activity at 3 a.m. I was like,
yeah.
What?
Yeah.
I was drinking. What was I doing at 3 a.m? I was like, oh, right. So what happened is I would leave the offices.
Right.
I would leave very early in the morning. So right. I was sleeping there. I was sleeping on every single sofa in that office. I tried out every single one. I found the one that I liked and I made that my bed. And basically what I did is in the morning when the executives will come in, I would sneak out. So I would sneak out at 7 a.m. so that they wouldn't see me in the building, because they'd be like, who's this girl? Like, what is she doing?
Yeah.
Just walking around, just in my pajamas. So what I did is I would sneak out, I'd hang around Nashville all day and then go back at about 6 p.m. at night when they'd all left. And then I'd start writing. I did not stop writing. I just wrote my way through it. I would open up a bottle of wine. I would just turn off all the lights and I'd stay up all night. And then I would have a couple of hours sleep and then leave again the next morning. And then, unfortunately, I got caught on camera and an email was generated around saying that I had to give the key card back.
Got you. And so they'd already given you the deal at this point?
No. So that was the next part.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So then I had to leave the building. I then call up the president of the label,
right?
And I call him up and I say, "Hey, I'll need to meet you." I said, "I don't know if you know who I am, but I have this." I said, "I wrote an album." So I went and saw him. He said, "Yeah, come by the office." So at that point, I was like on my last day at the office, I think, staying there. And I walk into, it was like literally upstairs because there was lots of different floors. And I walk in, he was like, "So tell me about yourself." I was like, "Yeah, I'm Jessika." He was like, "And where do you live?" I was like, "Here." Downstairs, mate. And he was like, "Okay." And I said, "Look, the important thing is I haven't stopped writing. I have wrote an album that I'm very proud of. Yeah. I wrote it 100% myself. I produced it. I learned how to produce in that time. I produced it when we came to make the album, we brought in Kyle Kelso. We produced it together, and he brought so much magic to this record. It really brought it alive. But I told the guy at the meeting at the time, I said, "Hey," I said, "I just wrote this album, I produced it, and I need you to hear it." And he heard it, and he signed me. So
it all became subsidiary.
Yeah.
None of it mattered. And none of it does matter. But do you think the content of the album would have been the same if that hadn't have been the process?
What do you mean if I hadn't?
So what I'm saying is, would the things that you were writing about, the actual substance, the subjects, the substance of them, do you think that would have been the same, or do you think it would have been slightly different if you'd just gone maybe a more regular route? Like they give you I have no idea how this works. I guess they give you a house, they give you a hotel, and like, here's your creative space, go. No,
I think I write better when my back's up against the wall. I'm one of those writers. Yeah. When my back's up against the wall and I'm under pressure and I'm feeling unsettled or somewhat troubled, and I described that time as it was a turbulent time for me. There was a few things that had gone on during that time that it unsettled me, and I was struggling. That's when I was drinking probably too much as well, and I basically I know in those moments that my therapy, my healing is to write. And if ever I have, when I have those feelings now that I did then, I just know, I'm like, okay, I just got to write my way through this. And I think that's how that, I was also feeling very, and I say this a lot, I think something that we all struggle with is loneliness.
Yeah.
And I've always struggled with that feeling.
Do you think the alcohol helped with that?
Yeah, I guess it did, because it made me more sociable to actually go out and talk to people.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm quite shy, so I'm my own worst enemy. I'm kind of lonely, but sometimes that's just because I just choose to be like this.
Do you think it can help with it in that sense? But then, it probably makes you feel, in my experience, it makes you feel more lonely then, because you're hungover on your own.
Exactly.
It's like
hungover on your own,
which is probably the worst hangover. Yeah,
you're hungover on your own, or you make sometimes, you're not always
Don't make the best decision.
You don't.
I have never made a good decision
No.
after probably 10 p.m. Whilst having alcohol in my system. And if anyone has, then please let me know your secret.
Yeah.
So the deal. So you were like, right, this is what I've done. You know. So they wanted to see what you'd produced in that time. How many tracks did you make?
14.
14 in 10 days.
No, actually, there was a couple that weren't written in that time.
Right.
They actually, I still carried on writing.
Got added on afterwards.
A lot of it was written in that time, but some of it, when I left, I ended up actually then living in Nashville and getting an apartment,
Right.
and then I carried on, and we then made the record. So,
yeah, brilliant. And that record is The World Ain't Ready, which is out September 1st.
Yeah, World Ain't Ready.
Everything I've heard I love.
Thank you.
So, yeah, I think we'll get into a bit more release date stuff a little bit later. But so you then stayed in Nashville for the rest of that creative process.
Yeah.
At what point did you come to New York?
Well, actually, it was after COVID, because when COVID happened, I ended up going back to England.
Oh, so this was all pre-COVID.
This was pre-COVID, yeah. And then just as COVID was happening, and then I went back to England, and I was in England for about a year. I had an amazing year. I wrote again, I carried on writing, and I spent time with my family. I moved back in with my mom and my family, and
Brilliant.
just absorbed that time.
Yeah.
Because that's one thing that I really lack here, is I don't have any family in America, or I think that's probably my biggest daily struggle. So I was like a child going back, just I moved back in with my mom, and just, it was incredible. I think for a lot of us, we did that.
Yeah, I fully get that. I mean, it was different for me. I was stuck where I was in Melbourne, but
really?
Yeah, like the most lockdown city in the world.
Oh God, it was
263 days, hella lockdown. Not in one go, but it was like, oh, we're going to go in lockdown for a week, and then you'd be in for 2 months. And they had curfews and stuff as well.
It's been really hard. Yeah.
It was incredibly difficult. Probably the most difficult time of my life. Throw a breakup in the mix, and it got pretty interesting.
That's tough.
Pretty interesting. But like you say, I had this like Sutton Coldfield Renaissance, like this. This, you go back home, and it's like you almost connect with your family. So I remember actually at Christmas, I went back after being stuck there for 2 years, a few days before Christmas, and we had like Christmas dinner and stuff, and I called my sister upstairs because I'd bought her something nice, and I'd had it for a long time that I was meant to be giving it to her, and I just wanted it to be this moment between me and her when I gave it to her, and it was just like and my mum was there, I was bursting into tears. I was like, it's fine, they're happy tears, it's just like the relief of being back here. And it wasn't until really, I suppose, that sometimes you don't realise how much it affects you until you kind of through it, and you've got to go through it to grow through it at the same time.
Absolutely.
But I think what I was trying to get at there was that, like, the return home, and you kind of connect to all these places that you're at when you were a child, and in some ways you rewind the hands of time and you feel a bit like a child, and it was, I guess for you there, it's a quiet time.
Yeah.
Were you still being creative? Were you still writing when you were home?
I did, yeah. I just carried on writing. We were lucky. We stayed like in this little cottage on the sea, like on the beach, and it was so nice. And I would just write. We had a lot of. It was a very unnerving time, wasn't it? Obviously, with everything that was going on. But like you said, it was a time where I think I made the most of that precious time with my family. I ended up spending a whole year, and then I came back to the States, which when I came back to New York.
Yeah. And the writing and the creative process for you, I know I've heard you say, if it takes you more than 7 minutes, it's not worth it, you kind of move on. Yeah. Is that always been the case for you?
Yeah. There's something, I've actually done a bit of research on this because I'm intrigued, but when I sit down to write a song, I'll know within the first, I think, okay, I'm going to try and write a song. I know within the first couple of minutes whether I can or not, and I'll be like, I just can't.
You're just not in the right mode.
Yeah, I would just know. I don't write fiction. I only write the truth. I only document the truth. Everything I write is, and sometimes that's quite hard to say because some of my songs are I would love to say that's not about me, but they are all about me. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I'm like, I have to own that. I only write from like personal experiences, and I've tried writing about other things. I just can't do it. I cannot do it. And that's really tough sometimes, because then that can give me writer's block, because if I don't have a subject to write about, or I don't have anything, I'm like, well, what am I going to write about? And that can be a problem, but it's definitely...
It could be a problem, but it also means that you've got to keep having experiences, isn't it? Which is great, because it...
Yes, exactly.
Work with it.
Yeah, I need to find. I'm always thinking that. I'm like, where can I find some material? Right. Well, I need something to write about. And the thing is with me is I am the kind of writer who, as we said earlier, I write my best when I'm turbulent, when I'm feeling unsettled. If I'm feeling too happy, I can't really write much. So
do you write all by yourself or
mostly
with others?
Yeah, I wrote my whole album 100%. I do co-writes as well, which helps me, especially when I'm having maybe like writer's block. That opens up some other ideas, but I prefer writing by myself.
But you're open to writing with other people?
Yes.
Because I want to write a song with you.
Let's do it.
I
would definitely write a song with you.
Yeah, I'd love to do it. I've never written a song before. I'd just like to see how it's done.
Yeah, we'll write a song.
Mental health is a big topic on this podcast. It's one I like to go into more and more, because it's so valuable for people, and I just feel like the reason I do this is to help others, and I think opening up these conversations is a very important thing to do.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
We've touched on it in a number of ways there, with the loneliness, with the overuse of alcohol, with the the start again, and the kind of lack of the bad environments, and the not always having great people around you, which is a really important thing. Now I know there's many different ways of dealing with poor mental health, with depression, with loneliness, with anxiety. I know the tools that work for me, and a great one has been therapy, and I always like to say it's not for everyone, but give it a try. What's the worst that can happen? I kind of frame it, particularly to young men on this show, as the gym for your brain.
Yeah.
And I think it's just part of...
It's such a good way of putting it, yeah.
I think it's real and it works, and I think that it's just part of being... Even if you don't think you've got anything particularly wrong with you, it could be very interesting and very enlightening for you to have a therapy session. And then it's just part of being a healthy adult. And I think it helps you to be the best version of yourself.
Yes.
When you're the best version of yourself, the people around you get the best version of you.
Yeah.
And then that helps. Yes. It's perpetual, right? It helps everything around you be better.
Does.
It helps the world be a better place.
And it really helps you just dive into everything, doesn't it? It kind of opens up things that we don't always do by ourselves. We just don't do that sometimes.
No,
I don't.
You can't see, as I said to you that I've been watching baseball, you can't see the picture when you're in the frame.
Yes,
right?
I love that.
So you need someone to remove you out the gallery and give you a different and a bigger perspective. Mm-hmm. What kind of tools have you used to help you with pull you out of kind of sad and bad times? Because we all have them.
We sure do. For me, it used to be my tool was obviously the drink that, I know I gave up. But that was always a tool. I think that always makes us feel a little bit it makes us feel a little bit better when we're down. But now that's gone. My tools now are, so I've become very, very much into manifesting and affirmations.
Yeah.
I'm a huge believer in this. Only recently maybe in the last year have I really got into this. I'm all about writing it down. So, for example, I think I told you this actually 2 mornings ago. I had the day that I saw you, actually, not that you created these things, it sounds bad, but when I had lunch with you and we went, and I said that morning I woke up and I was really struggling with anxiety. My heart was racing, I had palpitations, I was like, and then it starts to come up physically, when you're mentally feeling like that. And I couldn't work out why. I just was like, I'm just anxious, I was twitching, I could feel it, I just felt not good. Went for a walk and I couldn't shake it off. And I was like, okay, what am I going to do here? So I started doing my affirmations and my manifesting, and I just put on some music and I started writing everything down about what I'm wanting to happen, what I'm aiming to happen. And it helped me so much. Just that was my, and I really believe that, and it's hard to do, you have to really, really practice to get to this point, but manifesting works. I'm all about it. I'm all about this. And now we can get lazy with it as well. Like there's some mornings where I'm like, oh, I forgot to do it. And I notice that I have a different kind of day when I don't do it. So now I'm really trying to dedicate morning and night to doing this. And it changes your day.
It does. I mean, I think what you do in the first 15 to 20 minutes when you wake up controls the spirit of your day.
Totally.
And like a great example of that is, you bang some Madonna on in the shower in the morning. Whew, you're on a great day.
Yes,
you get some like Luther Vandross banging in the morning there. Everything's going to be great.
Yes.
Everything's going to be fine. And I think that there's some science behind that. Not that I'm much of a scientist, but there's something like your brain is operating at a higher frequency or something in the morning, so you're more susceptible to what you hear. And I think that's why it's a good time to listen to positive messages or write down positive messages and read stuff at that time.
Yeah.
Rather than just like get a head start on the day before it gets a head start on you.
I love that. And I couldn't agree more, because I used to, all my anxiety was always at like 5 a.m. in the morning, always 5 a.m. I don't know what it was. I would wake up on the dot at 5 a.m. and feel this, like I was just scared. I just used to feel it. I've felt it pretty much all my adult life, where I wake up at 5 and I feel very frightened of stuff. I don't know what it is, of just everything. And I think now, I really believe this, is like you said, those first 10, 15 minutes. Now I'm like, when that happens, I get up and I'm like, this is going to be an amazing day. This is going to happen. I know that this is going to happen today. I'm going to have great news today. And it changes my whole day.
Yeah.
I'm absolutely a big believer in it.
That's something I write often at the bottom of my gratitude or journals, is like, something, great things happen for me. 'Cause, we said this, like, great things happen for me, something great is on the way. But when you adjust your mindset to things happen for me, not to me,
yes,
then it just gets better.
It really does.
And it can be hard, whether it's a minute, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, a year, to like be like, well, why did that happen for me? It doesn't make any sense. But they always do.
Yeah.
They always do. It can take a while to figure them out, but that makes you more grateful for that. And I also think that when you focus on the things that you're grateful for, it brings more of those things your way, rather than just being like, oh shit, this is bad, that's bad. It's like, it's raining. Well, that's bad, but makes the grass grow. It's good for ducks.
It's so true.
Couldn't be rain without sunshine. It's like the yin yang, like the dark. One has to exist for the other to be there as well. Yeah,
gratitude is very important. That's another thing I'm learning with the manifesting and the affirmations, is the gratitude part is real key. Yeah,
that's things within self. So for these tools, but it'd be good to talk about the therapy end, because I know I've had quite a different. I mean, I've never fell in love with any of my therapists yet. I feel like I might be kind of looking forward to that. Might be fun. But you did.
Well, everyone says I fell in love with him. I tried to seduce him.
Okay.
I don't know what's better.
I'm not sure if they're the same. They're definitely not the same thing, actually, in my experience either. Trying to seduce someone doesn't mean that you fell in love with them.
From him. No, I mean, that's the thing. People are like, did you fall in love with him? Well, I lasted 5 sessions with him. 5 sessions. So what happened is I was like, okay, so I have OCD. I have it quite bad at times. And at the moment, actually, touch wood, 3 times. That's my OCD, but 3 times. But my OCD can be pretty bad. So at one point last year, it got, actually the year before, it just wasn't great. So I went to therapy and found this wonderful therapist. And he, I will say this, was very professional and very wonderful. And there was nothing on his side. So I will say that it was all from me and my issues. But I remember he was a mature man, and he was very nice. He was older, and I kind of knew when I went into the first session. I thought, oh,
excuse me.
I think I'm good.
Coca-Cola's giving me bubbles. Sorry, it's not good. It's some other brand. Sorry, Jess, I really messed you up before that.
No, don't worry, you're fine.
He was a mature man.
He was a mature man. He was a nice older man. I was here in New York, so I'd sit in and walk in, and the first time I met him, I was like, huh. And I just
seen that look before.
I was kind of like, I was sitting opposite, he was making notes, and I was like, and he'd say things to tell me about your you know, what's your issues with? I said, I have OCD. And then we'd talk about men and stuff and how we just was go through all these things. And I was thinking, 5 sessions went on. The second session, I turned up. And I was like, I was looking forward to therapy, not because I was going through my issues, but because I really wanted to see this man. It was so funny. Right. And I was aware of it. I was like, what am I doing? Like, this is not good.
No.
Third session in, I turned up, I'd have like a little like red summer's dress on and little red heels. And I was like, I know what I'm doing.
Do you think he knew what was going on?
Yes, I think he knew.
I thought would think so. You would think so.
Yeah, I think it was very obvious. And by the end, so it went on, I could tell. Because he was saying things like, oh, you look very like dressed up today, Jessica. Like, right. And I was like, oh, I got a meeting afterwards.
Yeah.
I didn't. It was all fake.
Yeah. So was it sex or companionship you were looking for?
That's a really good question. Because actually I said to him at the end, this is how it all came out. And I will answer that. And this is, well, I'll let you answer what you think. But this is what happened. I sat with somebody on my team actually, and I said, hey, I said, you're not going to believe this. I said, I think my therapist is wonderful. He listens to me every week. He's kind. He gives me so much attention when I sit with him. I said, and he's just always there every single week. And I'm like by myself. And he gives me this sense of like security. I said, wow. And then he looked at me, my friend, and he went, yeah. Because like you're paying him every week to do these things. Mm-hmm. He's listening to you because you're paying him. Like I was paying him a lot of money every week.
Right.
And I was like, no. This is different. So I went back to him on the 5th session and I said, I'm not sure about how I'm feeling about this. And it was very obvious what was happening. It's a real thing. I got told it was called transference. It happens between a patient and a therapist, and it had to be quickly. He advised me to go to a woman therapist.
Right, that makes sense.
I think it was, I told him, I said, you can't buy, I think I was literally trying to buy some company. I think I was really lonely, and I think I was a bit, and like I said, I always seem to suffer from this feeling of loneliness. I can't seem to escape it. Even when shouldn't be feeling lonely, I just feel it. I just can't seem to break away from
maybe you just need to find yourself a man.
Yeah, maybe that's exactly what I probably need to do.
Probably cure it.
No, it would cure it.
I mean, and like, the way I would think about that is like, well, if there was ever a time when you didn't feel lonely, what was the difference?
Yeah. I mean, that'd be the best answer. Just find a man, and then I'm not going to feel, and not go after my therapist, right?
No. No. So then did you find a female therapist or?
No, I just stopped therapy. Honestly, I was like, it's cheaper, and I'm better writing about all this stuff. I just keep writing.
So you just went back into the therapy being the writing?
Yeah, just myself therapy. Yeah, it works because I need album 2, so I don't want to get too fixed, because then I'm screwed for album 2. I'm about to start focusing on album 2 and like gathering my songs together. I need to think about that. Not yet, actually. We're promoting album 1, but when I do, I'm like, the therapy. I actually do need therapy. I know I do. I know I do because of my OCD mainly. But right now writing helps me the most, so I just do that.
I know where you're doing. You don't want to go, and that's one for maybe that's one for the second podcast. Who knows?
Yeah.
The word hustle is a big feature of this podcast.
Yeah.
I mean, we're in arguably probably the city with the most hustle in the world, New York City. How do you define that word hustle? What does it mean to you?
Hustle. It's actually one of my favourite words.
Yes.
Yeah. It's absolutely one of my favourite words. And I've done a lot of hustling.
Yeah, making them thousands of phone calls, getting doors slammed.
I must have sent 10,000 emails. I have done all sorts of silly stuff to try and just to get this show on the road. But I think it's all about hustling. To me means it's like you're in a boxing ring and you just keep going. You just keep fighting. You get down, you get back up again. And I always think, and I actually thank all those doors that were slammed, every single one of them. I really believe that makes you stronger because it makes you want to even prove even more. Like I can't bear being told no. I hate it. So because the nature of my character, I'm like, oh, okay, now I need to do even better. I have to win. I have to win. I have to win. And it can torture me, to be honest. I mean, it makes me literally unhappy. My head can make me terribly unhappy because I have this battle every single day that I have to be the best. I have to win. I am petrified of failing.
But wait a minute, you are winning.
Thank you. This is what I need to remind myself every day, because I have this like consuming this fear that cripples me. So I have to
fuck your fears.
Fuck your fears, exactly.
Fuck your fears.
And that's what the song's about. A lot of it is about, you know, being scared about failing. But sometimes I'm just like, I'm literally just, I'm doing better at it now. Like I will not put that out to the universe anyway. I will not. I know I just said it then, but I'm not putting it out there. I'm just kind of expressing how I have been. But I think the hustle thing is, when you're in that hustling mode, I'm better anyway because I'm in tough mode rather than.
And I guess you might have kind of answered it there, but maybe to answer it in a more linear way, what drives your hunger for the hustle? I'll ask everyone that.
Yeah,
I'm going to rephrase it. What drives your hunger for the hustle, Jessika?
Being told no.
Every no takes you closer to a yes,
yeah.
right? So you know that and you keep going into it?
I think if I'd been told no, I think what keeps me going, that hunger, is for them. I describe my songs as my babies. They are them, and I work just for them. It's just like, I'm like, oh, they have to have their glory, and for me, I feel very responsible for them. I feel very responsible for my babies, for my songs, and I would do anything I have to do to make sure this happens, anything. And I think having the rejection in the past, a lot of, as we do as artists, when you're on that creative journey, has just made me be like, no, I have to win for them.
So then actually, if what you've just said is true, then OCD is your superpower, because you create the songs and then you feel responsible for them, and that responsibility helps you nurture them and bring them on and make them even better. So stand in your power, girl.
That's incredible. No one's ever described it like that.
Just observation.
OCD is actually my superpower.
Do
you want to be my therapist? Am I going to try to seduce you?
Maybe that's an off-camera discussion. I think.
Move on.
What do you think?
He didn't say yes. He didn't say no.
Yeah, I did. You're right. You're right. What if you walked up to you in the street, let's go 5 years ago, and you said to you, like, how this is what I want to do, how do I do it, how do I get into it? You know, think of anyone around the world that's listening to this at any point in the future, because, you know, it's on the internet, it's there forever. So let's give some advice to the young people in the world who want to get, particularly the girls out there who want to get into the music industry.
I would say the first one is just stay true to who you are, because it's very, very easy to not actually. Just really stay true, because only you know. Like it's taken me some time, but I've become I'm confident in who I am as an artist and my music, and everything about that makes up about me as an artist is Jessika. And I think you just have to stay true to that. It's so important. Be authentic and just be unapologetically you. Second thing I would say is it's really, you have to just keep that kind of gut feeling of belief. I think that's the most important thing. It's I know, like, we say this lightly, but it really is just that. I think that's it.
How can you expect anyone to believe in you if you don't believe in yourself?
Yeah.
It's a bit of an unfair thing to ask, right?
Yeah.
And in an effort to tie into what you said at the start, which is be yourself, be authentic, two are very closely connected. And I think if you keep heading, you can not do it. You can kind of pull the wool over for a bit, but then you are going to start feeling anxious. Then you are going to start feeling shitty because you're being fake, right? And it doesn't feel good. You can kind of get away with it for a while, but the tires start to fall off after a bit.
Absolutely, you just have to just keep true to yourself. And
so keep true to yourself, stay authentic, believe in yourself. Anything else? Let's go on. The magic comes in threes, right?
Yeah.
If that's what it is, that's what it is.
I would say there was probably more. There was probably a lot more, actually. I would say for the music stuff, it's all about the songs. It always comes down to the songs and down to the music. And I forget that sometimes as well. Like now I'm busy making, like I haven't always, like recently, I'm just learning just to really just believe in the songs, believe in the music, because it's always going to come down to that. So just believe in the music. And like I said, I've always spoke about those songs as my babies. So just believing in them and working hard for them. Like I said, I feel responsible for them.
Yeah.
I have to. I feel very responsible for them.
How important do you think, I mean, it's a bit of a stupid question really, but the hard work's important as well.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you have to work hard every single day.
How many, this is a bit of a personal question, you don't have to answer, but how many hours do you work a day?
I just don't feel like I stop. Because I feel like...
No, that feels...
Yeah. I just don't feel like I stop, but mentally.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe, and I've been told actually by therapists that I have an obsession with this. I actually did see another therapist after that, what happened to the therapist, and I wasn't happy with this new therapist because I understood, but he said that I have an obsession with my music. He said, you are obsessed, and it might not be healthy. And I sat there, I said, I'm not going to argue with you. I said, I'm totally obsessed. I have been since I set out at 16 years old to do this. I still am now. The obsession's actually getting more. And I can't help that. I can't even rewire that. I don't want to rewire it as well.
But if you're going to be obsessed with anything, you might as well be obsessed with your passion, right? That's going to create greatness.
Yeah, it is.
A lot of people never find it. I commend you for it.
Thank you.
You know, you found your passion, you're moving towards it, you're accelerating, you're making things happen, you're setting goals, you're knocking them down. It's been so good for me and inspiring to come here and spend some time with you and see you do what you're doing.
Thank you.
I can't wait for the album to drop 8 days before my birthday on September 1st. I think the world needs to hear these stories that you've packaged into 3 and 4 minute segments, and they're about you.
Yeah.
And they're about the struggles that we all go through life in different ways. And I think it's, you know, you're just getting started. This is album number 1, and I look forward to sitting back here with you in 2 to 3 years' time when we're on who knows what album.
Oh.
And you've delivered all that value to the world, because that's what it's about, right?
Thank you.
That's what it's about.
This
and that's what this podcast is about.
This podcast is amazing. I mean, this is what I'm all about the hustle and all about positive thinking, and actually us reconnecting like this, and we're going to end up being best mates now. We're going to stay, new besties.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's funny how the universe has brought us together to do this, because everything you're doing, Jake, I'm all about it. Like you are incredible. Your energy is incredible. So I'm so happy we did this.
I'll do what I can. I appreciate your kindness and your support. All right, I think we'll wrap it up there. Shout out to Threshold Studios in New York, Derek and Simon, the legends, the lads here who have set us up. This is a great spot if you're ever in New York. I know you use this place a lot.
I use this place weekly, Threshold Studios in New York City. This place is amazing. It's a home for me here, because like I said, where I'm making my babies, this is where I am. And these guys are great. This is the place to be to make music here.
Always important to have that creative space, and I've really enjoyed using it today. If people want to find you on socials, Jess, how will they do that? Instagram, I am Jessika. That's my website. It's Jessika Music with a K. Everything is Jessika with a K. But all over socials is just Jessika, yeah. And what was the website? My website just went live actually a couple of days ago. I think it's iamjessika.com. iamjessika.com. Yeah. Okay. This has been the Hunger for the Hustle podcast, and you have been wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for your time, Jess. I appreciate you. Thank you to all you folks who have been listening at home and around the world. If you've got some value from this, if you've enjoyed it, if you've liked it, please do me a favour and everyone else a favour and share it, because by doing that, you've done your little bit to help the world. Stay hungry, stay healthy, stay happy, and keep on hustling, folks. Yes.